39. I will call this meeting of the Select Board to October 27th, 2025 to order. I'm going to, unless there's a complaint, I'd like to move item 4, which is Wharf Park renovation project, up to the front as we're joined by Mr. McKay, and that will allow him to claim a comfortable seat for town meeting. Does that work for you?
I actually no longer town meeting.
Oh, that's right. So, well, then you can sit and wait like the rest of us, I guess. Do you want to get started then? Okay.
Why don't you come up?
Yeah, why don't you
Scott,
come over
so that we can capture your audio. So thank you for asking me to come tonight. This is simply an update for the board, and I'm also going to ask for an affirmation of a vote that was held back in September of 2024 regarding Wharf Park and the rehabilitation process that we've been trying to do down there. By way of introduction, Scott McKay was a former town meeting member for Precinct 2, former park commissioner, and I currently sit on the board of the Milton Farmers Market and Friends of Milton Recreation. So in those roles, so starting back, this project kind of conceptually started back in 2022. And it was at a Milton Farmers Market board meeting, and we were looking at the park, and with the root system, the uneven grounds, really unsafe conditions for folks who are just able-bodied, but certainly not accessible for folks who have any sort of other abilities. So we started talking about whether this was a viable space for the Milton Farmers Market to continue long-term. And right about that same time, the town approved Community Preservation Act. And so we thought this was a great opportunity to kind of step forward and take the reins on possibly rehabilitating this park. So back in 22, we put in an application to CPC for $25,000 to publicly study the park and open it up to the wider community and say, what is it that folks want to see out of this park? Currently now it's used by the farmers market. There's kind of inactive passive use by, passerbys, folks with dogs, that type of thing. There's some storage there for the rowing club. And we wanted to not only continue the space for the Milton Farmers Market, but create a space that is inviting down at the public waterfront. So that's where this thing was born. We put in a $25,000 application to study it. We went through a lengthy process. Nick was involved to bring on a landscape architect. And they held a series of 6 meetings over about a 1.5 year process. And we came up with 3 kind of general concept designs for what it could be. And those are delineated in here. And from those public meetings, kind of synthesize additional things, amenities that folks wanted in the park. We spent some time with the planning board. We spent some time with neighboring businesses, the select board's Milton Landing Committee we had a meeting with. And we always thought this would be a great space for either concerts or theater or something like that. So we also invited the arts community to participate in giving us some feedback. So through that 1.5 year process, this is the conceptual designs that were developed. And I just want to point out on page 4, looks like this. Watching at home. You can see in the top right corner, it says Neponset Riverwalk. That's an existing park that's already down on the waterfront now. And if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a set of stairs that comes down from Adams Street. So those were kind of a few contextual things that in the neighborhood that we wanted to continue into this park. So if you see the stairway, it kind of comes across, and then there's a set of stairs that comes down into Wharf Park. Those were intentionally made to be consistent with the walkway that's coming from Adams Street. And kind of the circular pattern that's on Wharf Park mirrors what's already down in the Neponset Riverwalk. So based on feedback and the orientation of this park, they wanted the majority of the slope to face towards the water. It's a beautiful view down there and kind of bring that into being in the neighborhood. Again, that's all those things were considered in the design process. And I mentioned before on September 10th of 24, we came to the select board and presented this design for approval by the board and also consent to move forward to solicit funds for the park itself. So we went ahead and put in a second application to the Community Preservation Committee for the funding of the construction, engineering costs and construction. And through a few meetings with those folks, they told us that it's better if you split it up, figure out the engineering piece of it first, and also get a good cost estimate for what this thing is going to cost the town. So that's what we did. We went in last year. The budget for just the engineering services was $157,000. Community Preservation Commission, they awarded us $73,500 for the study. And our steering committee raised the additional $83,500 for engineering and cost estimating. It's not the sexiest way to raise money is for engineering costs that nobody's ever going to see. So it was kind of a slog to get there, but we did. And to date, we have 75% construction documents on the site. And the cost estimate is still super conservative from our independent estimator. It's coming in at about 1.5 million. But as our steering committee is committed to getting this, using alternatives for the surface of the walkway, those types of things to save additional funding, additional money. So we're hoping to get this down to about 1.2 million. So the reason why we're here today again is to ask for a vote from you guys affirming it. But I also wanted to kind of give you the lay of land, what we're up against for these next several weeks and months. On November 5th, we've already submitted that application, the third application to Community Preservation Commission or Committee for $750,000. And then we also submitted a $250,000 application to the town's capital committee. So the steering committee views this park, it's a municipal park. It is under the guidelines and custody, care, and control, I'm sure you know those words, of the select board. And so it's our feeling that the bulk of the funding for the infrastructure of this project should come from the town. The infrastructure corrections to this park are going to last long after the amenities on this park have passed by. So we're talking dirt work, moving the earth, retaining wall, a walkway, making it accessible. Those things are the things that we're asking the town to cover. In the additional amenities, I want to list some of the other things that folks came up with. And it's going to be privately funded by either donations, foundations, or in-kind work. Going to include 2 sets of entry stairs into the park, a children's play area, park benches, a pollinator garden, plantings, a permanent bicycle rack, lighting, and a sun canopy. And I always love this. And again, it goes back to what else can this park be used for? There's some pictures up here of what it could look like on market day. But this last picture kind of, we're hoping to get lighting for this that also can withhold a canopy to provide some shade. And here is a concert that's happening in the park. And if you're sitting on the kind of berm around or the wall that's going to be around the park, you'll be able to look past that and see the water, see the theater, see some musical show, and just people just generally gathering in the space. That's really the intent behind this, was to create a space that was inviting for folks to use the waterfront and be accessible and usable for a much larger population than it currently can. So that's what I'm asking you guys for, is just to affirm the vote that was taken in September. And they're going to be considering applications over the next weeks and months. And if we can get a letter signed by the board or a letter signed by the chair that just supports this project, I think that will go a long way in helping them make their funding decisions.
Yeah, and if I may, Mr. McKay, just to add a little context. So he wrote to me about this, and then I didn't get it on our last agenda, and then realized that the CPC application was going to be due before our next regular meeting.
Sure.
So I thought it would be best for Scott to come in now, so that at least the majority of the board could hear what we were being asked to do, which is really to just submit a letter of support for the project. We're not committing ourselves to funding at this point. It's just, this is a good idea. We like it. We want to see it continue to move forward.
We never want to see this project as, a farmer's market project or a Friends of Milton recreation project. This is select board land.
Yeah.
We came forward with a plan to use the land. I think we tried to get as much community support as possible for it. And kind of touch on a lot of the things that people wanted, but ultimately the decision for this park and whether it's going to move forward or not lies within the town and with the select board.
So questions from the members?
When do you anticipate having 100% design?
By January 1st.
Okay.
And the lion's share of this 70% of the project we're looking to have funded by municipal sources. We'll know far before that January 1st timeline whether or not CPC and or the capital committee will commit funding to it. So
Sure. Okay. Is there any estimate of the operating costs for a park of this size?
So one of the members on our board, on our steering committee is Brian Pasquantonio. He's a landscape contractor in town. We also have our landscape architect. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago to talk about that. Based on spring cleanup, fall cleanup, additional plantings that are needed, any damages that need to be fixed. The operating budget is probably $12,000 to $15,000 a year just for maintenance.
Okay.
And again, we can tackle that in a lot of ways. It was the intention of the committee was to raise additional funding to set aside some funds for the first 5 to 6 years
Okay.
for that. But also it's a great opportunity for other folks in town who want to make some in-kind donations.
Great.
And one other thing I just want to mention, our landscape architects committed to using plantings that are hardy, that can withstand any sort of, flooding isn't that high, but there's certainly a salt content
Yeah.
that's down there. So,
Right.
so choosing plantings that
Native
make
plants.
sense in that space.
And they be native plants.
Correct.
Cool.
Other questions from the members?
No questions for me. Do we have design for it to Elliott?
For 2 Elliott, the Bank of America renovation.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about if this is going to happen, those are very close together. Then we should be thinking about those as sort of in conjunction with the change.
I know JD is part of the small steering group we had, right?
So JD Wild, who owns Muscle and Flow Building and also the Bank of America building, I think he just purchased the building that's to the west of the park. Is on our steering committee and
The F.A. King building?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
so he really envisions the park, bringing that and he and several other developers, contractors in town are going to also write a support letter for us. Without saying it, what they're going to contribute a significant amount to make this happen. They're really looking forward to kind of using this as a kind of an example for private public partnerships to get projects like this done. And there's definitely some energy to go that way. So
Do you have anybody from 88 Wharf on the group too?
there is a board member from 88 Wharf that's on the committee as well.
And then I remember when the last time we met, there was the tree debate.
Yep.
Keep both, remove the oak, or remove both?
The beech tree is staying.
Beech tree is
the
staying,
one
okay.
that's closest to the train station.
Yeah.
Um,
And the oak was kind of a lost cause anyways, I think.
well, probably a third of the limbs have already fallen down. When I was on the board of park commissioners, a huge limb fell and he splintered a picnic table that was there. So we were asked by one of the members of the CPC to have an arborist come out and study that tree.
Mm.
And it was right in the middle of summer, so they were booked out. We went to Bartlett Tree, Wellesley, and now where Doug Hunt is actually gonna be doing the work in the next week. And he'll give us a written report. on
Okay.
how that went.
A little cooler in here, Mr. Wells.
How are you? And Richard's been to so many meetings, he could probably do this presentation himself, so.
Yeah, we're just talking about the park, the Wharf Park design. Well, that's timely. So we've just finished asking Mr. McQuaid questions, I think, unless there was anything else from the board. So what we're looking for is a motion to draft a letter of support for this project.
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made by Mr. Wells, seconded by Mr. Daly. Any further discussion on that? I think we're all in person, so we can just do this the old fashioned way. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Question before.
Oh, yes.
Because I didn't know. You do a budget time too, or no? You big bunch of them?
Yeah, 1.2.
Okay. Well, we talk side, you want to check out that?
Yeah.
I'll really, I get it.
Okay, that will pass then.
Thank you so
For
much for
nothing.
having me. I
Very welcome,
appreciate
Mr.
that.
McKay. Sorry, we had to cram you in here. So then let's go back to item number 2, the special town warrant articles. Mr. Maloney, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that we have voted on any of these yet as a board about whether to support or not. So maybe the best way to do this is to just go through one by one. If we decide we want to vote now, we can. If we decide we want to vote on the floor, we can do that. And if there's any updates in terms of, I know there's some amendments and things kicking around on a couple of them that we can also discuss then. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So starting with the first one, Article 1, amend fiscal year 2026 general government appropriations. That's the money for the special election. I don't believe there's any amendments to this one.
Correct.
I would entertain a motion to, Mr. Wells makes a motion to support.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hegarty. Any further discussion?
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. That's okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. So then Article number 2, accept MGL Chapter 40, Section 57 and amend the general bylaws. I don't believe there are any articles or changes to this one, so I'd entertain a motion. Motion's been made by Mr. Wells,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Hegarty. All in favor?
Aye.
Our item 3 is accept Mass General Law, Chapter 60, Section 3D. And again, I don't believe this one has anything floating around it. So I'll take a motion on that unless somebody wants to discuss. Motion's been made by Mr. Wells, seconded
Second.
by Ms. Hegarty. All in favor? Aye. Okay, item 4 is our community-wide greenhouse gas emissions article. And this we had been presented to, this is submitted by the Climate Action Planning Committee, who had presented to the select board previously where we had asked questions. I don't believe that there's anything amended to this one either. Unless if folks want to talk about it, we can discuss. Otherwise, I would take a motion.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
One question involves. Because we have like an sleep, you're gonna go for sleep. It's like, I mean, still the diesel engines are still going existing. DPWs, and I just saw the first prototype electric fire engine, but the cost of it, we may have to wait on. Does this allow you to just direct, or is this, do you see the word direct? Would you direct it like an order, or direct is like, we hope you'll do this, continue like. That's my only question. The word direct can have a lot of interpretations.
No, and
Darren, do you have a, go
I
ahead.
think Alex Tasha will speak to that, but his point was to make it as more of a sense of the town meeting. I'll let Darren speak to that as well. It's nothing binding in this article.
Through the chair, exactly that. It's a directory. I know that word again, but it's not binding. I mean, it's more of a sense of being advisory.
Right, so the town would prefer if you could
Right.
buy an electric fire truck. If it costs $1 billion, then we probably would consider an alternative.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion's been made by Mr. Wells,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Hegarty. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Article 5. This is the MPIC, and Mr. Milano, maybe you and I have been on some emails around this. I'll may turn this to you to bring us up to speed on the latest amendments.
So as of, I just checked, I don't have any updates, but some of the conversation prior to this meeting was that Meredith Hall would speak with the planning board this evening about actually amending the recommendation from the warrant committee to extend the term of MPIC rather than establishing this new committee at this town meeting. What she had asked to draft was to have the MPIC term extend for another year from now. And then in the meantime, planning board and MPIC and others can work together an article in a committee to replace MPIC, but to essentially kick the decision point to a future town meeting and extend everything as is today for now. I don't know if that obviously has been adopted by the planning board or not, but that is a sense of where that discussion was headed, and that follows a couple of planning board meetings where they discussed it in depth.
Can I ask a quick question? When we met last, there was the question about making recommendations regarding the scope and key focus areas of future master plans to the warrant committee or not to the warrant committee, to the planning board and select board. Have those amendments been submitted? Do we
Yeah,
know?
you'll have a green sheet that reflects that. So it was a small change in one section that recommendations regarding the scope of key focus areas would be reported to the planning board and the select board. Master plans under MGL are under the jurisdiction of the planning board anyway.
Yeah.
Well,
considering that the master plan, and I'm sorry, I won't speak first on this. Do people have thoughts about the amendment?
Yeah, I mean, the amendment itself is disappointing. I don't understand the reason for it. The planning committee received the article, I think at least back in September, or had access to it. We had members of the planning board attending MPIC meetings on Zoom, and their concerns were never raised until just the past couple of weeks. So I am going to support a successor committee.
Mr. Wells.
Well, you differ a little, not on the amendment, I did on that I arrived there right after the MPIC was really going up its sleeves and getting their work, and it was always the idea that it would sunset, and I did hear both directly and indirectly from the two most senior, they've been there forever though, Brad Tabor and Richard Burke, I mean, the entire time, and both of them feel that like we've done what we were supposed to do, and that's like, you don't have to commit as it is. Either way, I don't care the amendment or that. I think it's fine for it. I mean, Cheryl, when she says that the whole thing he said was the great one of the biggest things was great that BUD. What was even applied, which is I find it's disappointing.
Yeah. Well, so to your point, Mr. Wells, and this will be in Cheryl's presentation tonight. A tremendous amount of work has been done. A tremendous amount successfully completed. But there's still more work to be done. There's still cards left on the table. So, and I believe it's a function that this town needs to have continued implementation of that plan. In potentially an evaluation of what comes next.
So I can live with that. My only other thing is, and this was back when I first arrived, and Mr. Denny was here, and Katie was chair, was that was supposed to have a budget. In the past 2 years, we found out, wound up giving it a budget, and because every dollar is important. I just don't know that I'm okay with it as we're doing, but I just think we need to be careful. Let them come again initially and think, okay, we're gonna have money. That's something we have to, whether I'm here or not, we're gonna have to talk about that. Because it started as like a 1 or 2 year thing, and now it's come like an every year thing. I know you've only been there a short time, but I think you've already got the picture of the financial process.
Yeah.
That's all I'm okay with. I can.
Any other thoughts, Mr. Daly?
No, just to be clear. So, Megan, your stance is that we should move forward with, you prefer to move forward with the article,
Yeah.
a new committee, not the extension.
And it's fine for it to report to the select board and the planning board.
Yeah, I thought that amendment was going to then alleviate the concerns that the planning board
Yeah.
had, but So, and I think that was their original amendment. So I think we could take a motion to support that with,
It doesn't call for money.
no.
No.
Well, it says that existing money for MPIC moves over, but there's nothing new. Okay, so the motion, just to be clear, is to support Article 5 as written with the exception of the amendment that had been proposed earlier by who did the warrant committee or the planning boards propose that? The was
Warrant
to add the
committee
two?
Have.
Oh, the warrant
green
committee.
Sheet is the revised recommendation.
With the recommendation of the warrant, with the amendment suggested by the warrant committee to the item 3 that requires the board to the committee to report to planning board and select board. So that's the motion made by Mr. Wells. Seconded by Mr. Daly. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Item 6 is our just changing the year on the conservation land. I don't think that there's any amendments to this because it's one number, but I could be wrong.
And nothing to our knowledge.
Okay, so any further discussion, or I'll take a motion on that one.
I'll make the motion.
Saying so.
Yeah, I think I have to abstain because this is gonna be this is gonna warrant out my lap.
Okay,
So,
All right, motion to approve Article 6 regarding the land transfers for potential school project.
okay, motion's made by Mr. Daly,
seconded.
seconded by Ms. Hegarty. Mr. Wells is recusing himself. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's 3-0. Okay, Article 7. This is the general bylaws amendment, alcohol on town land. I know there are did I skip one?
No.
Okay. I know there were a host of amendments made, and I have a feeling we have some interested parties in the audience. So Mr. Milano, knowing that we're going to be well, I guess we've got 25 minutes. Do you want to review the amendments that have been submitted so far?
Did we bring input? I don't think we did. Okay.
So, and actually, before you do that, if I may, I just want to, so I was curious about this one from a protocol perspective, because we submitted this, the warrant committee, their recommendation has come back with some additional language. So my understanding after talking with the moderator, who also consulted town council, is that the motion on the floor is going to be the motion presented by the warrant committee. So we can choose to support the motion made by the warrant committee. We can deal with the other amendments in a moment, or we can just vote, or we can amend. We can make a motion to amend, which would just revert back to the language that we had originally submitted to the warrant committee. So those are kind of like our two options before we get into the other amendments that have been proposed.
So is this what we have here? The warrant committee's recommendation?
Yeah, it's too additional.
Yeah, the warrant committees changed the wristband language to be for both seeking to purchase or consume alcohol beverage. And then they also added, and ours originally just had age identifying non-transferable wristbands shall be provided to individuals seeking to purchase alcohol beverages. So their suggestion there, which I think you know is rather than just those who are purchasing it, if you want to drink, you should just have the bracelet. These are these paper bracelets that they just slap on you. So that's
I'm just looking at the piece of paper in front of me.
That's been submitted by Mike Zulus.
that's a separate one.
Okay.
Further changing it. What the warrant committee did is in the warrant itself.
Okay.
And that's that. So that's.
Yeah, it's the bold
First,
text after the rest.
This whole situation where there's a bunch of different things in front of us at the last minute, like, kind of gets me like,
Welcome to town government.
I know, but I have a voice, right? We really tried beginning over the summer to get these things lined up, ducks in a row, similar to what's happening right now on the MPIC issue. People submitting stuff at the last minute feels a little bit like gamesmanship on some of this. And I think it's absolutely unprofessional and inappropriate. I don't care if I agree with it or not. I'm just going to state that, you know, this is tricky. and we have to figure out how to make this work better next time.
I don't know that there's going to be a better way for something like this, but I hear what the member is saying. My suggestion might be that rather than vote on additional amendments that are proposed on the floor, that we just set out kind of what we would like to do with this existing language now, and we can discuss on the floor if and when there almost certainly will be more amendments added, and we can address those as they come up. And then I'll just give my feeling real quick. Frankly, I think if the warrant committee had come back to us and just said, here, like, can you make this change on the non-transferable wristbands so that it's for whoever purchases or consumes, I would have been fine with that. I think the requirement for a vendor to post product description, price, and alcohol by volume for each product is prohibitive, because we don't ask anybody else to do that. And I mean, I don't know how you would even require, I mean, you could do the math, I guess, but to figure out how much alcohol is in a gin and tonic or is in a, you know, whatever the cosmopolitan, the cocktails that they're drinking, that's going to be, I think that would be onerous on like, you know, steel and rye or if they're catering something like this, they don't have that info necessarily off the top of their head. And since they wouldn't be required to do it for something that is indoors, I don't understand why you would have to be, I understand the public health argument for it generally, but I also have to sort of take into consideration what's reasonable to request of people. And I don't know that it's reasonable to request something like that in, you know, just for specifically outdoor conversations.
On town property only.
Yeah, on town property only, right? So that's not a requirement that's given to the Eustace Estate or given to, you know, anybody else. Yeah.
Please, no one.
So for me, my preference is I feel like our article that we originally created took some of the suggestions from our friends in the community, and in our discussions at select board, we really had a discussion about whether or not we wanted this article to be very prescriptive or not very prescriptive, right? Like how many rules did we want to put in on this versus how much can be left to the discretion of the select board when issuing. And that goes to the beer garden question and some of the other questions that have come up. So my preference is not surprisingly for the work that we already did and approved. But that's pretty much it. That's what I had to say.
No, I'm just nodding along.
So I concur with this. Look, I guess, I'm other than probably Kevin Merriman, the only one who showed review over 1,000. I can't. And the way I helped them with 350 and I sit on the board of no business. And when the Milton Business Fest started 14 years ago, we didn't sell liquor at all, but people were bringing us home. We said, we need to stop. And nothing against them, it's the most reached back to business. I'm counting soul cups on they're bringing it on the road, which is, you need to regulate. I know for the past couple of years, the Porch Fest has tried to come to us for us to find a way that they could sell it. And to me, like now you could potentially have something with Shields Park and set it up and not that we're any of these all the fundraisers on the money, they try to make money sustain there. And this is one way to do it. And 14 years in the Milton Music Fest, 5,000 people every weekend. We've never had a single fun. We've never had a single jazz fest, all the things in Curry, Milton, all. And so you can go into you come in here and rent the Dana Field House. And none of this will apply. So, I mean, we've only got one, come from one, and to me, you know, I'm very protective. I come from just a protective nature. I agree with you. And I had initially thought I was going to go along with both Warren Committee recommendations, but I agree with you. You know, the posting or the percentages and gets to the point that like, who are you going to get to do this? There's a reason the Massachusetts codified created a statute for caterers licenses that kind of help communities and not just communities, but and organizers to have a safe outline mandate for it. And that's like, you know, we've been there since I first proposed was let's follow the statute. So I agree with Ms. Hagerty on, I agree with her comments, and I'll do either one. If you want to just go back to ours without the warrant committee recommendation or split the, whatever, we're gonna wait to vote on the floor, I'm fine with that.
Well, I think we could have like an overall vote now, and then we could come back to the, to the individual questions when we are on the floor. I have a feeling we'll have some time on this one to
You want
discuss.
to support it as we originally wrote
Yes, which would technically be a motion to amend the
Warrant committee's-
warrant committee's recommendation to the original text that was suggested by the select board.
I'll
Did I
make,
get that right, Darren?
Yeah, I would throw in the words.
Submitted by the select board.
I'll
Yeah.
make that motion, it's submitted by us.
Okay. Motion's been made. Was there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hegarty. Any further discussion on this one? Okay,
Someone gonna tell the warrant committee. so-
well, we got to vote. All all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I told Jay that I would go and chat with him, let him know how that happened. Okay, so item 8 is the light trespass. The warrant committee has also made some additions here. I think probably most substantively, the change to not allowing this to basically the distinction between the dark skies and the light trespass. So as they correctly, I think, labeled this as a light trespass article, they said that those provisions don't necessarily apply to places like federal parks, state parks, wilderness, conservation areas, et cetera. So somebody, if they wanted to, could still shine a spotlight on a piece of park property as long as they weren't somehow also shining light on privately owned land, it would still be okay. For this one, we've gone through the hoops on this a whole bunch. I think that there is room for starting up a dark skies warrant article if people are interested. But we've gone back and forth on this one a couple of times. I feel like this is as close as we've gotten to sort of some consensus agreement around the language. And my inclination is to agree with the warrant committee. But that's just, again, I'm just kind of editorializing right off the top.
And then the other, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Other
Morrow.
key substantive change that the warrant committee made was
Yeah.
work through an appeals process with KP. So I know I brought it back to the select board that they were working through it, and the way it would work is it's laid out how an appeal would work. An appeal would be heard by a committee of 3 individuals who have to be appointed by the select board, which I know wasn't necessarily this board's preference. It's where the warrant committee landed after kind of debating it for a while, but I think I just wanted to flag the other substantive change was how the initial violation was handled, how it could be appealed, and what the property.
Thank you.
would be.
That's important to know.
So,
Yeah.
I
So we
thought-
previously did not have an appeals process in here, and I think that it was a good addition by the committee. So any further discussion on this one?
Well, just my own, I think if it doesn't go tonight,
It's dead, I think. Yeah.
I think this is, the rest of this is it, you would be able to see it going or so on.
Yeah. Yep, I totally agree with that. So hearing that, I will take a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hegarty. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. And then article number 9. I don't think that there is any substantive changes to this or amendments. Is that right, Mr. Manuel? And this was submitted by the planning board. So unless there's discussion, I would take a motion on this one.
Make a motion on to throw out them. Yeah, Rick, all right. Let's
As submitted, yeah, but as recommended by the warrant committee.
recommend one for the
Motion's made by Mr. Wells. I will second it for a change of pace. And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That brings us then to item 3, Mr. Milano, select board's letter to, unless there's anything else from town meeting that we've addressed.
That I haven't heard anything.
Okay. So select board letter to MBTA, I saw that you pinged them on that. No response again? Gesundheit.
So when we had originally sent the letter, a staffer from the MBTA confirmed receipt, called me just to say, I'll check in and get back to you. When I pinged them again last week, same thing, confirmed receipt, gave me a call, spoke to him at a greater length today. Didn't have anything concrete, but did say that he would be making an announcement in several weeks, and we hope to have more information before then.
About the Mattapan line specifically? Okay.
So that's the gist of it. Nothing real substantive, but he did say there should be more news coming out publicly in a few weeks.
And, okay. Maybe for our next meeting, which is in the middle of November, if we have a date for that, if they
Yeah.
haven't yet released the news,
Sure.
that would be helpful.
Okay.
Other thoughts from the members on this one?
Get your rules.
They're not.
Sorry.
They are not. But, you know, I feel like we have the good guy stick and we should use it for a bit. Wharf Park renovation, any further discussion on the MBTA? Okay, we already talked about Wharf Park, EOZ for Town of Milton Home Rule petition for additional alcohol licenses.
Thank you. And thanks to Kevin Chisholm and Select Board Representative Weld's office for shepherding this through. So this bill is having a hearing as we speak. It's open for testimony. The feedback from the committee has been that we submitted a map with 10 zones for up to 5 licenses. They would like for the number of zones to match the number of potential licenses. So I printed the map again. Unless anybody has any substantive issue, I will just expand zones to whittle it down from 10 to 5. Unless there's any zones folks would like to drop, I asked if we could just make them bigger, and they didn't say no. So
Yeah, I mean, I think you could just connect 1, 2, and 3 pretty easily.
yeah, that one was the easiest.
And then I think 8, 7, and 10, you could probably connect 8 and 7. Maybe.
Where's Curry?
Oh, 7 is the paper mill?
Oh, sorry.
We could just ditch the paper mill because nothing's going in there anytime soon.
Yeah, because you're not, this is our, you know, this is, we picked 5. You
Yeah.
can always go back. But I get where they're at. They want to match licenses to fill sets of things.
So if we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we'd still like, I think you could connect 8 and 10 just by going down Blue Hill Parkway. And similarly, you could connect 6 and 9 by going down Randolph. Does that sound right to people? I'm just kind of eyeballing it here.
As a map goes, it's probably the best way to get to 5.
That would get me to 5 with those changes. Combining 1, 2, and 3, connecting 6 and 9, connecting 8 and 10, and dropping 7
Okay.
as a standalone.
And then as a reminder for folks, anybody who's, and this is more for the folks that are watching this in retrospect. This doesn't mean that there's going to be a line of bars down Blue Hill. There's only 5 licenses and the select board has the ability to select where they go. It's just creating the zones that people could apply within.
And zoning will still apply.
And zoning still, yeah. Okay, so does that, you just have the instructions on that? You don't need a motion, right?
No, I can take that. We'll update it. We'll get it back to the board, but then we'll submit it into the committee.
Okay. Looking at the time, we're a little limited. Fire station projects debt model.
I can provide the board the next 2 updates via email. I would just ask that you move on the license for the not done.
I make the 9 to 3 is one day license for Don't Hanson on 334 Angel Road for the first Friday. So it's the first Friday.
Yeah.
The first Friday, art exhibition, and music.
I second.
Friday, until but
Made by Mr. Wells, seconded by Ms. Hegarty. I will just add, I will be performing at this one, so.
they usually stay.
No, people are gonna need that liquor because of that. Any other discussion? We've got a motion. All in favor? Aye. Okay, and we adjourn, right? Yeah, so I'll take a motion to adjourn. Seconded?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.